It's no secret that the media likes to dissect stories that they report on. They shine light on whatever aspects of the story that fills their rhetoric. I've become quite accustomed to these examples of media bias from Fox News, the biggest conservative news station in America.
Can't do it. Okay. We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Fucking thing sucks.
In fact, just about any conservative news outlet throughout most of my life. And I've always liked having the peace of mind that I can probably trust more liberal stations like CNN to be more bipartisan and trustworthy. However, now it seems that these liberal stations are just as bad as Fox News. Obvious examples are the Young Turks, MTV News, and other such independent journalist groups. But far more prevalent and as such dangerous source of bias is CNN. Over the past year or so, we've seen examples of CNN being extremely ignorant and horribly condescending to anybody of disparaging opinions, such as this clip of Sheriff Clark talking about police shootings with Don Lemon.
Here to talk about how to keep our police safe is Sheriff David Clark of Milwaukee County, Wisconsin. He is going to be speaking at the Republican convention tomorrow night. Sheriff, thank you very much for that horrific day. I spoke to the heads of the sheriff department, the police department, and the state police down there, and they told us how their hearts were reeling. Their message is peace and coming together in the country. What's your message?
You don't believe that for 1 minute, do you?
That their message is?
Yeah.
That's what they said to me.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe them. Of course
Any
I believe them
protests
when they say
over the
that.
deaths of these cops today in Baton Rouge?
I don't know that. I don't know that.
Any riots or protests over the police officers in Dallas, Texas?
What are you asking?
It's a pretty simple question.
I asked you if what's your message to the people. Their message is one of peace. What is your message?
My message has been clear from day one 2 years ago. This anti-cop sentiment from this hateful ideology called Black Lives Matter has fueled this rage against the American police officer. I predicted this 2 years ago. So what I want to know,
okay, Sheriff.
do I want to know?
With all due respect, do you know that this was because of that? Do we
Yes,
know
I
that
do.
As a law enforcement officer?
I've been watching this for 2 years. I predicted this. This anti-police rhetoric sweeping the country has turned out some hateful things inside of people that are now playing themselves out on the American police officer. I want to know, with all of the black-on-black violence in the United States of America, by the way, when the tragedies happened in Louisiana and Minnesota, you know that 21 black people were murdered across the United States? Was there any reporting on that?
There was a black officer who was killed today. But
Was there any reporting on that?
Sheriff, please, let's just keep the volume down here. So I understand, and listen,
I'm looking at 3 dead cops this week,
Sheriff,
and I'm looking at 5 last year. You trying to tell me to keep it down?
Just please, if you'll just please, we can keep it civil. So, because the message to people at home, I'm sure you want, is one of civility.
I wish, Don, I wish you had that message of civility
to have a conversation
toward this
with you.
hateful ideology, these purveyors of
You don't
hate.
know what my message is.
That's
what I
what
want
they
to say
do.
to you is,
these
if you'll
people
let me get
preach
are you going to get a
vile
word in?
and virtue
We'll be right
in the
back.
name
We're
of
going to go to break,
hate.
and we'll be right back. All I want to do is have a conversation. I can't have a conversation with you if we're both talking at the same time. What it sounds like to me is that you're accusing me of violence and supporting something, a narrative that I'm not necessarily in support of. And if that's what you're accusing me of violence, then you can leave. That's not true. I don't support violence of any type against police officers, against anyone. So if you're accusing me of that, then you're welcome to leave. But if you want to have a conversation, I am more than willing to welcome a conversation with you. I don't disagree with you about there's a narrative across the country that could be harming police officers. But we don't know right now, as someone who's in law enforcement, if that was the actual cause of it. Go ahead.
Let me ask you this. Do we know that generally the American law enforcement officers are racist. Do we know this?
Go on.
I ask a question.
Do I know American general law enforcement are racist? I don't think anyone is accusing. If you're insinuating that people are accusing or saying that law enforcement across this country as a whole are racist, then your assumption is wrong.
First of all, this whole anti-police rhetoric is based on a lie. There is no data, and you know this. There is no data, there is no research that proves any of that nonsense. None. Even
you'd have to be more specific about what data and what nonsense you're talking about.
That law enforcement officers treat black males different than white males in policing in these urban centers.
There is data that supports
There is not data.
No, the president spoke about it. Cedric Alexander, who is a law enforcement officer.
The president has been lying about it. He said it again the other day when he said black males are 2 times more likely to be shot by a law enforcement officer than white males. Don, that is a lie.
They and other liberal media outlets have also been shown to focus on race-specific crimes and stories, such as the obvious parallel of Jessica Chambers and Crystal Mangum, the woman who made rape allegations against 3 white members of the Duke lacrosse team.
More than 6 months ago, Duke University and the city of Durham, North Carolina, were rocked by charges that Duke lacrosse players raped an exotic dancer at a team party. 60 Minutes correspondent Ed Bradley got exclusive interviews with the 3 players charged in the case, including former co-captain Dave Evans.
Do you ever think that if this does go to trial, that if you're convicted, you could face a lot of time in prison? Do you ever think about that?
Would you?
Sure.
Yeah. 30 years I could go to jail for something that never happens, based on a lie.
Now, if you don't remember, this story was huge, with extensive coverage on all news outlets. And these players were basically presumed guilty upon basically no evidence. And then there was the story of Jessica Chambers, who was kidnapped and then set on fire in her vehicle, to be found by the fire department and then to die in the hospital days later from the burns by a black man. Never was there a hashtag for her. Never was she sensationalized in the media. In fact, the only CNN coverage of her is a small excerpt that never even receives a follow-up to who committed the crime, one Quentin Tellis. You have to go on their website to find it. They never report it on the news.
It's hard for me even talk, it's hard to breathe, even think about it.
A family's anguish over an almost unspeakable crime. Their teenage daughter burned alive.
They have ripped everything I have.
8 p.m. Saturday night, rural North Mississippi. A 911 call reports a burning car on a county road. Within minutes, the volunteer fire department arrives.
We were expecting it to be just a normal car fire.
Instead, a horribly burned teen stumbles from the darkness. In this small town, they know her.
I realized who the victim was, and it was just shocking.
19-year-old Jessica Chambers, described by friends as a well-liked, outgoing high school cheerleader, had been doused with a flammable liquid and set on fire. She would die the next day due to burns covering nearly every inch of her body. But it gets even worse, according to what the family says doctors told them.
They said that, as far as they could tell, like they squirted fluid down her throat and up her nose because it just burned her on the inside so bad.
Incredibly, despite her suffering, Chambers whispered something to firefighters. Many believe it was the name of her attacker.
I can't really disclose any of that information at this time.
Authorities will only tell me what the teen said is a lead. Meanwhile, in this small town, the big question is who could have done it?
Well, certainly we're looking at murder charges, capital murder charges.
Authorities have been retracing where Chambers went that night. This surveillance video shows her stopping at a local gas station where police say she bought a drink and chatted with a few people. Everyone she spoke with has been cleared. The teen's marked cars being analyzed, as is her phone recovered inside. Investigators believe a text or last call could be key, especially if it links to her last whispered words.
I want to see justice, man. Justice, you know.
And in this part of Mississippi, they believe justice can be here or the hereafter.
God's judgment, God's punishment is going to be far more worse than anything that we can do.
That poor family. Martin joins me now. I mean, I understand that they're just getting access to this young woman's phone, correct?
Right, and the phone they believe could be absolutely key to solving this mystery and maybe finding who this killer is. It required a couple of things. First, you have to get the legal warrants in order to gain access to someone's information like that. And then, number two, they needed physically to have the password, the passcode. I've just been told by the authorities they achieved all of that today. They've been able to get into the phone. And first thing tomorrow, they're following up on the leads it generates.
And now we have the most recent and perhaps blatant example of not just media bias, but of media lies. Seville Smith's sister's speech. Here's what CNN will show you.
His family and friends holding a vigil marked by prayers.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done.
With his sister calling for peace.
Don't bring the violence here and the ignorance here.
Pretty virtuous, right? Nothing wrong there. Understandable, calling for peace between everyone. Well, here's the full interview.
On everything. Tell his mama y'all sorry for her loss. Burning down shit ain't gonna help nothing. Y'all burning down shit we need in our community. Take that shit to the suburbs. Burn that shit down. We need our shit. We need our weed. I don't wear it, but we need it.
All of a sudden, not so peaceful. Actually calling for more violence. To take it into the suburbs. And who do you think she thinks is in the suburbs? Black people? She doesn't think black people are in the suburbs. She's indirectly telling them to burn down white homes. Obviously, there are black people in the suburbs, and it'd be interesting to see how that went over. I shouldn't even need to say anything at this point. But it just goes to prove how the liberal media is. Just a bunch of self-hating white people or racist minorities who want to hide violence and hatred when from a minority, when not fitting their rhetoric, and blast the smallest incidences of violence and hatred when by whites or when it fits their rhetoric. So, I guess in a way, SJWs and the such are correct when they say America is just as racist as always. However, the racism is just directed at white people now.